Basically, what I'm trying to communicate to you is that if we don't assign conscious attention to the very specific movement that we're trying to learn, then not just the way that you will perceive it will end up being confusing, but actually and literally proven by medical science in neurology, your brain will be confused as to what happened, and you will actually be learning bad movement. This is literally how bad habits get developed in our sport. Bad habits in terms of movement in shooting happen because we're focused on the wrong thing and we're searching for that external feedback to be a broken target. And in the pursuit of that, we're not paying attention to how we're achieving that result. And so the brain catalogs the response of what happens in your brain chemistry as, oh, all these broken targets are changing my brain chemistry in a positive way. This chemical is being released every time I break the target, and that's a good chemical. And that's the type of movement that I want to remember how to do because it gave me the release of this chemical, so I'm going to remember this. And all those ones that didn't give me the release of that chemical, all those targets that didn't break, we're going to not remember those. And so over time, you develop central pattern generators that create a neurological pathway that control your body to proprioceptively respond in movement in the wrong way. I personally think that that scientific explanation is fascinating. The translation of that is that, more simply, instead of being focused on observing the bird break, you should be consciously attentive to how your body feels, and you should be consciously controlling your body during the shot. If you're focusing on the wrong thing, you will literally be, by your own choice, ingraining poor movement and undesired mechanics into the way that your body will move in a tournament when you're looking at the bird and not thinking about the mechanics that you're trying to apply, which ideally is the way that we should approach every target shot in competition. Just real quick sidebar. Based off of everything that we're talking about here, you can make this assumption. In practice, we want to be very consciously aware and attentive and in control of the way that our body moves, so that we can, over time, ingrain good physical movement into our non-conscious movement. But in a tournament, always, even if you're in the process of learning something new, you always want to be consciously attentive and aware of just seeing the target, so that you can allow those CPGs to control the movement of your body and gun non-consciously. Because going back to something that I talked about in the previous episode, the way that our eyes work is that we have two different styles of movement: saccadic movement and smooth pursuit movement. Smooth pursuit movement is when your eyes move very smoothly and you never lose a visual image as they are moving. Saccadic movement you could redefine as eye snap. And both of those styles of movements are done using the same ocular muscles. Saccadic movement is snappy, very fast, and if you record a video of your eyes, it looks like your eyes jump really quick. Smooth pursuit movement is slow and smooth, and if you were to record your eyes, it looks very clean and smooth. They're both controlled by the same muscle. The difference is that that same muscle is sent a signal using two different neurological pathways. For smooth pursuit movement, it requires conscious attention on something in your vision to engage the ability to move your eyeballs that way. For saccadic movement, it does not. So you have two different neurological pathways controlling the same muscle. And you can experience this right now if you pick two different things in your vision right now that are separated from each other and make it a good amount of separation in between each thing so you can actually experience the movement of your eyes. But look at the one on the left and then try to look at the one on the right. And you will be feeling saccadic movement because you're going from the left object to the right object, left object, right object, and you're not seeing the image that your brain is actually getting during the movement of your eyes because the brain shuts it off. If it didn't shut it off, you'd throw up immediately on the spot. Now, look at that left object again and try to move your eyes to the right object very smoothly without feeling little snappy movements of your eyeballs. It's not neurologically possible unless you put something in your vision, and you can do this with your finger. Hold your hand out and point at the left object. Now, instead of focusing on that left object, I want you to look at your hand or your finger, whatever, and then move your finger over to the right object. And as you do that, maintain conscious attention to your finger, and you will notice now that your eyes are moving very smoothly. It's actually not possible to do this if you... Oh man, I'm going to make some people mad here. Look at the left object, put your finger up, right underneath it or right to the side of it, anywhere, it doesn't matter. Just make it to where your finger is very close to where your eyes are looking, but not exactly on it, so that you're not focusing on your finger, you're focusing on the left object. Now move your finger slowly over to the right object and try to move your eyes smoothly to the right object in sync with your finger, but not looking and paying attention to your finger. It's still not neurologically possible because you don't have something in the center ocular position of your vision for you to consciously connect your attention to and engage that neurological pathway to control your ocular muscle using those lower motor neurons. Super, super interesting. So because that is scientific fact, and it's also scientific fact that in order to proprioceptively connect your gun movement to the target movement, which would be required to have the highest level of connection with the target, we have to be engaging in smooth pursuit visual movement. Why? Because that proprioception, by definition, is that non-conscious control of your body. So go back to what I just talked about with those three components to learning a physical skill: sensory perception, physical movement, and proprioception. I gave the example of what would happen if you lost a feeling in your legs and you tried to walk, and how hard and clumsy you would feel. That's because you're having to do it consciously without proprioceptive feedback. And if we are consciously moving the gun because we're looking at the gun while we're moving, then we don't have proprioceptive movement of the gun. And because we're consciously paying attention to the gun, we don't have smooth pursuit ocular movement with the target, and it creates this big mess of a thing that's going on where the target will look really fast, it'll look blurry, it'll look jumpy, and it'll elevate your emotional state, and you'll lose control of your body and your gun, and it will never feel very, very good. But if you do it correctly with conscious attention to the bird, smooth pursuit movement engaged on the target, and proprioceptive movement, or those non-conscious central pattern generators controlling the movement of your body and gun, that's where we experience that feeling of like, whoa, that target looks so big and detailed and smooth, and it almost felt like I slowed down time. That is the only way to do that. So going back to talking about that we need to have conscious attention, control, and awareness of our physical movement in practice, but not in a tournament. And we need to be totally consciously attentive and aware and connected to the target when we shoot a tournament. You literally want to consciously decide that you will be visually focusing on the target during a tournament, because all day, every day, 100% of the time, smooth pursuit ocular movement combined with proprioceptive physical movement will net you a better result of broken targets, even if the physical movement is bad, compared to saccadic visual movement with consciously controlled physical movement. It's just fact all the time. So another way of saying what I'm just took probably too long for most of you to explain is that we should care about our movement in practice, and we should care about seeing the target in a tournament, because if we care about movement in a tournament, we're actually going to be doing ourselves a disservice as far as what the predetermined purpose of a tournament is, which is breaking the most amount of targets possible.